So I acknowledge that one life that is the source of all things. It is creating in an unlimited way all of the possibilities for it to express itself, to experience itself. And through this creation, it is creating beauty, love. There's a givingness of all of the good and the blessings of life. And I know that because this is all there is, this God's substance, that is what I am made of, that is my nature. And in its love and its unlimitedness, that is within me, as it is living in me and through me and as me. For it is expressing itself as me, as my nature. And because this is all that I am, and all that it is, that it is perfect. And so in that truth and knowing that that is my nature, I know that this is the truth of all that is created, all of the beings and the creatures, the plants and the rocks. It is all being expressed in a perfect way. And so as I speak my word, in realizing that I am already perfect, and I may release any idea and misunderstanding about that there is no place in me that is wrong, no place in me that doesn't fit. For Spirit is creating me perfectly. And in my individuality, I am expressing it in a special way, just as all are. And so I may let down and release any judgment that I may have about myself or others, for there is no place for it. For Spirit is not judging, it is saying yes. Become and be all that I am and all that you are. And for this I give great thanks, for I may express myself and accept all that I am, that blessing of life, the blessing of who and what I am.
We are looking this year at a whole year of living out loud. Anybody good with that? Woo! Yeah. Somebody taking it literally. Thank you. Yes. And this month we're looking at cultivating authenticity, being our authentic who we are self. And so today we're looking at a talk title of Dropping the Masks and Bushel Baskets. Now when I first heard that or read that title, I kind of was like, huh? And I had to sit with it for a little while. And at first it seemed a bit strange, but I've come to love it. Because our masks block intimacy. Our masks block the ability of people to see into us, or so we think. Because the only person we're really usually fooling with our mask is? Yeah, because everybody else can really see who we are and what's going on. The second part, the bushel baskets, is about how we express out. How we express our light into the world. And it comes from that saying from the Bible that Jesus said is don't put your light under a basket, under a bushel basket. You put it on a stand and let it shine out in the world. And so that's what we're being called to do today. Brene Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, says, because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world, our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. how much do we accept ourselves? How okay are we with being me? Because that's how okay we are with letting ourselves shine, and that's how okay we are with other people being themselves. Can I love and accept myself first? And then can I love and accept each other? So we begin life totally unmasked, yes? You know, we're in the womb, consciousness is developing, brain is developing. We don't care what anybody thinks of us. We're just being. We're being in a state pretty much of bliss. We are just who we are, and we aren't attached to others' judgments, reactions, or acceptance. Yet as we grow, we become more aware of the reactions of others and the effect of those reactions on us. Yes? Okay. This isn't a bad thing in and of itself, by the way. You know, sociopaths and psychopaths never develop the ability to care about anybody else. So it's a good thing that we can actually care about other people. It's how we learn, excuse me. Let's get the mouth working here. I have an imperfect mouth today, but it's perfectly imperfect, as we know. So it's a way of learning how to live in the world, ideally with a healthy balance of inner and outer input. But many of us grew up in cultures of shaming, blaming, guilt, and so we learned to hide aspects of ourselves that triggered off reactions, unpleasant reactions, in other people. Can you relate? Yeah. Yep, I think we all can. And we drew conclusions from others' reactions about ourselves that may not have been accurate. Since as children, we kind of lacked that larger perspective. And then we entered school. We experienced something called peer pressure, which is another way of shaming. And so we learned to shut down, to play it safe, to be cool, right? You know what's cool? Dead organisms. And a dead life. If we want to have a live, warm, fresh light of life, we can't be cool. We learn to shut down and hide our love, our joy, our passion, our playfulness, all of which are not acceptable in the proper and dull adult world. Although the adult world doesn't have to be dull, by the way. So we tend to be the person we think others want us to be. We tend to be the person that we think others want us to be. And we run around internally asking, do they think I'm okay? Do they think I'm good enough? Breathe. We all do it. It's okay. Now again, I want to emphasize that not caring at all is not healthy. But for those of us who are not narcissistic sociopaths, we tend to be overly concerned and trying to be the right person and hide our light and our authenticity behind masks, being someone we're not, and then having to maintain the masks we've created. I know none of you have ever done this, but do you know somebody who's like this? Yeah. And these masks hide our core fears of not enough, of being not enough, and being unlovable. Conclusions many of us came to as children, by the way. So our spiritual journey is to return to our innate knowing that I am enough and that I am lovable. Say it to the person next to you. You are enough and you are lovable. And then say it to yourself. I am enough. I am lovable. We don't do this in an I don't care what anyone thinks way. That's not what we're talking about. But in a courageous sharing of our authentic, capital S, self way. And as we do the work of this kind of teaching, and I'll emphasize do the work of this kind of teaching, we remember we reconnect with, and we reawaken our authentic, our inner divinity, our inner authenticity. We find that balanced place of compassionately caring and courageously being real in our own life and with others. By dropping our masks, we let go of, oh, I'm fine. It's all good. I can handle this. I don't need no stinking help. We finally come to asking for help and saying, you know, I got stuff going on and it's not perfect. I got to do that this week. Talk about that a little bit later. But ask for help. I like to think that I can handle anything, right? I'm a religious science minister, and I'm a man, and I'm about to be 72 years old tomorrow, and all that stuff, right? But sometimes we have to ask for help. Sometimes we have to admit we're afraid. Sometimes we have to let our real joy and laughter, our love, our delight, and our playfulness shine forth. Yes? Yes. We can't keep it hidden. We don't have to keep a lid on it anymore. How many of you were told at some point in your life, keep a lid on it? Oh, yeah. We are enough and we are loved because we are spirit in form, immersed in a field of infinite love. Never separate from that. No matter what we've believed, no matter what anybody else told us, we are that right now. Breathe that in. I am immersed in a field of infinite love as a being of spirit. We are being the divine in human form, even if we're still in the process of figuring it out. Anybody besides me? We can ask in any given situation, what is my highest, most authentic response here? What is my highest, most authentic, from my authentic self response here, rather than doing some preconditioned response from our masked self? So now let's take a look at our bushel baskets. In his wonderful book, The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks talks about the upper limit problem, the ULP, which is not quite the same as the Upper Peninsula problem for my friends from the Upper Peninsula here. But the upper limit problem, the ways we throttle back if things get too good, or we hold ourselves back in the first place. And he calls out 4 core beliefs and barriers that get triggered when we want to let our light shine. And we have a slide for that, Danny. And so the first is feeling fundamentally flawed. There is something fundamentally wrong with me. Those of us who grew up in shame-based cultures know this one well. It keeps us oftentimes from even trying for more. Why bother? It's not going to work out anyway. I'm not good enough. It's not going to happen, etc., etc. The second barrier is disloyalty and abandonment. And what this sounds like is, if I succeed, if I let my light shine, if I really am who I am, I'll be disloyal to my family, to my roots, to my friends, and I'll be left behind or leave them behind. I'll leave behind people from my past and end up all alone. And there are 2 questions to ask to see if this is operating in our lives. The first one is, did I break my family's unspoken rules to get where I am? Spoken or unspoken rules? And sometimes it's, did I break my own spoken rules from earlier in my life? You know, when I was in college, which was in the late 60s and early 70s, I wrote a wonderful essay. After having watched where I community college, I went against the flow of traffic, and I watched this stream of headlights of all these people coming into their offices to work. And so I wrote this essay called, "And They All Wore Shiny Black Shoes." And it was against the automaton-like life of going to work, going home, going to work, going home, all that stuff. Today I'm wearing shiny black shoes, by the way. However, I don't think any of them wore Jimi Hendrix socks to go with them. Do I need to do that so the online folks can see it better? Jimi Hendrix socks. And so for a long time, I wouldn't let myself succeed. My first job out of college was working for an insurance company, the quintessential, establishment sort of thing, at life and casualty. And I couldn't do that. I eventually had to break free and sabotage my success. The unbroken rules, the unspoken rules or spoken rules about wealth, about being happily married, about being sober, about how I should be. And then the second question to ask is, even though I am successful, did I fail to meet the expectations of my parents had for me? Was I supposed to be a doctor? Was I supposed to be a lawyer? Was I supposed to be a happily married woman with lots of kids? All that stuff, and not a career. Breathe. So even though I'm successful, did I fail to meet the expectations my parents had of me? And those will cause us to take our light back down a little bit. The third belief is that more success brings a bigger burden. We can look at this one of two ways. First, I'm too much. If I have that running in my life, I'm too much already. Therefore, if I'm even more of me, if I'm even more of my authentic self, I'll really be too much. I'll be an even bigger burden. Anybody relate? Uh-huh. And then the second way of looking at this is that more success means more work and bigger problems. I used to know a person who kept herself deliberately in poverty because she didn't want to pay taxes. So she kept her income at below any level that would generate, taxes. Part of it was a political statement, but part of it was she was scared, she didn't know how to deal with taxes, and so she just kept herself on this little lid. So as with all of these barriers, she chose to hide out and play small. That's what we do when we encounter these barriers. That's the first response, is to hide out and play small. And then the fourth barrier is the crime of outshining. We believe that if we turn on our light fully, we'll make somebody else look or feel bad. Think of all those poor, starving children in fill in the blank. Think of all those people who don't have money. How dare you be rich? Think of all those people who are unhappily married. How dare you be happily married? Fill in the blank, whatever it is. We believe that we would make somebody else look or feel bad. And sometimes this accompanies the previous belief that I'm too much, and by being fully on, I'll both outshine somebody else and be rejected for being too much. I was a great student in school. I was a great student. It came easily for me. My younger sister, on the other hand, struggled with academics, as did certain other bullying kids in my class. And I learned quickly to dumb down and not to be too happy about my successes. And add this to a deep, I'm not wanted and wrong for even being here. I was the result of an affair that my mother had with another man. Quickly turned into turning down my light. Just be invisible, be under the radar, you don't want to see me. Hi, Susan. Anybody else relate to something like that? Yeah, we've had to turn down our light. Almost all of us are affected by the upper limit problem, and identifying what underlying beliefs are operating helps to point us in the direction of freeing ourselves, of what truths, capital T truths, we need to recognize ourselves. See, when we can start to see it, when we can start to say, oh, this is what's been operating oftentimes below the surface, we can bring it up to the surface, not to dwell on it, but say, that's what's been operating. I need to deal with that. Yes? Yes. And when we face that, we see what truth we have to tell. I'm teaching a class that involves Emma Curtis Hopkins, who does what she calls denials and affirmations. This is not the truth. It's like pulling the weed out of your garden. This is the truth. That's planting the plant you want to have in here. So when we can see what the weeds are that are growing in our garden, if I can't see weeds, then what? Am I ever going to deal with the weeds? But they're there, yes? And eventually they'll come up and deal with me in some way or another. So we recognize those truths. We recognize everything that's operating, and we start to free ourselves from that. Bringing that to the surface, as painful as it may initially be, can help free us from to both remove those masks and to let our light shine. To get rid of the bushel baskets. And shine, baby, shine. That's your assignment this week, is to shine. Audre Lorde said, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid." When I dare to be powerful, when I dare to let my light shine, to use that light in the service of life itself, it becomes less important for me to be afraid. So this week, I want to invite you to take a look at what beliefs may be keeping you from shining as your authentic self. Begin to tell yourself the capital T truth about them. You are a divine idea in the mind of God. I am life itself in form. All that. Your authentic presence and your light are wanted. Your authentic presence and your light are wanted, and you deserve to express yourself fully, 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 and shine. Are you willing to take that on as a practice this week? Look at the junk and speak the truth. Before I do my closing quote, I have a mask that I need to drop. And so this week, a week before that, I did something that I haven't done in 7 years. I went and got a physical exam. Don't ever do that. No, I'm just teasing. So this past week, I got diagnosed with diabetes. Pretty high levels of the stuff that, the blood sugars and all that stuff. Take your breath. And so I'm going to share with you that I'm afraid. I'm grieving because basically all my favorite foods, as you all know, I kind of like sweets a little bit, pastries and bakeries and all that good stuff, has just gone bye-bye. Appropriately enough, Ross and Terry dropped by yesterday with a birthday present for me, and one of the presents was a book. It was, instead of a piece of chocolate cake, was a book that said, "When the Chocolate Runs Out." It's written by a Tibetan Buddhist. And from the little bit that I've read of it, it's pretty darn good. So I just want to let you know that. What I want to ask is that you hold me in the highest and best light. I don't need food advice. I've already gotten, you can't eat this, and this anymore from somebody that I asked for prayer support for. I didn't feel real good after that. I'm sitting there going, well, I guess I can have a slab of fish every day, and that's about it. And a lot of water. So please don't give me food advice. I have a doctor, I have a nutritionist that I'm going to start working with and all that medical stuff. What I would love is the same thing that you would like, is to know the highest and greatest truth of you. Ernest Holmes says we do not deny the existence of a condition, we deny that it has to continue to exist. And so that's the consciousness that I would love from you. But I also wanted to explain that because I know there's some birthday treats out there, and I don't want you to feel insulted because I'm not going to eat any of those birthday treats, at least not the sugary, chocolatey ones. I may be able to have pure chocolate. I'm not sure yet. I have to talk to my nutritionist. So I just want to let you know that. I wanted to be honest with you. I don't know what else to say other than that. Yeah. And we all get to deal with, as the song says, the rain is falling, but we stand in the light. And so remembering that, and I'm remembering that consciously, and I would love it if you would know that with me. And my intention, by the way, is to be here for a very long time. Yes. I used to work for the American Diabetes Association several decades ago. Diabetes runs all through my family. Somebody said, well, at least you were 70 years old before you even started going down that path or had it. And it's just like, yeah, my dad was dead by the time he was 70 of complications of diabetes. And so, I have, I believe, a lot more years to go with wise living and high thinking. So I want to close with a quote from Ernest. It's appropriate here. Life is not just something to be endured. It is to be lived in joy, in a fullness without limit. Life is not something to be endured. It is to be lived in joy, in a fullness without limit. And we have an affirmation. Say this with me. I open up, I stand up, and let the divine light shine as me. One more time. I open up, I stand up, and I let the divine light shine as me. And so it is. Thank you. Yeah, I can just put it right here. Thank you. I think we're adding to the circle over here from some young folks. There we go. Oh, look around at the faces and the hearts of the divine. Remember that yours is one of those? Breathe that in as we remember that there is only one life, and it is good. It is a good beyond our idea of good. It is pure love, pure wholeness, pure joy. And because that infinite life is all that there is, each of us already is and must be one of that life. And so we are whole, perfect, complete. We are infinite love. We are infinite joy, individually expressing. That is our light. That is our authenticity. And so I speak my word that we are here to shine that light, to shine the divine nature of who we are into this world. And we say yes. Yes to doing that. Yes to being that light. Yes to shining and letting that light support others. And some can't handle it, and that's their issue. Others will absolutely revel in it and enjoy it and will light up their own lives because of your light, our light. And so we do that this week. We shine. And so it is.